Welcome to Ciao Living Italian Style. I'm your host, Barbara Zippi, and we're going to explore Italy today and the Abruzzo region. So we're actually exploring my adventures in Abruzzo that I've had the privilege of being in Italy since 1976. This is actually a photo of my mother's family, and my mother's the baby in the picture. Her mother, Lucia Nobilio, had 8 children, and they were all born here in the United States. All of my grandparents were born in the Abruzzo region, and Lucia, my grandmother, was one of 13 children that was born in Loreto Abruzzo, and the only one that actually 2. Her brother Vincenzo also came to America, but the rest of them all stayed in Loreto Abruzzo, and so it's a village filled with family history. And today I wanted to show you a picture of the town so that you could get a scope of what we're going to talk about. Now, that was a picture of the hillside of Loreto Abruzzo. If you look at this map, the region map of Italy, you see the shape of the boot naturally. Italy is approximately the size of the state of Florida. So many of you, when you come, land in Lazio. If you see it in the middle, on the left-hand side, that's the region that includes Rome. So many of you go to Rome, and then you go north to Venice and Florence and all those beautiful places, Tuscany. Very few people go south to the Abruzzo region. And if you continue looking at that map and go across from Lazio, you'll see the word Abruzzo, and that is on the Adriatic Sea. And Loreto Abruzzo is up from the seaside on a hilltop. And it's surrounded by Molise and Marche, and then you have the Campania and all the southern regions, which is not a very big tourist destination. So today I'm going to show you one option to those Tuscany vineyards, because most of you, when you go to Italy, explore the vineyards of Florence and Tuscany and up north. But there's nothing like the vineyards in the Abruzzo region, and tourism is starting to catch up with that region of the world, because many of the families that have owned vineyards in Abruzzo for years and years, now the next generation and the next generation is becoming involved. They're more social media savvy, and they see what other regions in Italy are doing, and they want to capitalize on the wine tourism trade as well in the Abruzzi area. So there's an organization called Cantina Aperto, and we're going to show you a video of the first of this winery that I went to, Contessa Winery. And 2 times a year, Cantina Aperto has winery tours. May, which is a very popular time, and October. You're going to see May 2023 a visit to one of the participating vineyards in the Abruzzo region, and that they're part of Cantina Aperta. A little different than the vineyards that we see in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, California. Everybody's country has their own flavor. So this is the flavor of the vineyard in Abruzzo. The name of the vineyard is capital C-O-N, capital T-E-S-A, Contessa. And you see those fields in the back. They all have built up through the family's history little village housing for their stores. They put up their tents. We're going to walk towards the factory, and then you'll also see the scope of the vineyards. It's a day that brings out young, old, children, music. The other thing too, I think the legal drinking age in Italy is 18 and not 21. But sitting at local family tables, they certainly, the younger people under 18, because of all the local wines that are made either at a vineyard or really by their own families in their homes, they learn to taste wine at a young age. So now we're coming along to the side. That was the area where there's a little store and where they were pouring the wine. And it's off of the vineyards. All these trees that you see are olive trees here and there, but this is primarily growing grapes. And you'll see the scope of the vineyard with this video and then some pictures afterwards. And here comes the scope of that vineyard. It's absolutely beautiful, but these are centuries old. These families own their farms. They get passed down to family member to family member. And they use all natural materials. You find stone, you make a stone pavement. You find things to use. Look at their house on the hill overlooking the vineyard. Beautiful. And cypress trees are always pretty. And so you're partying among a beautiful countryside. So this is the countryside in Abruzzo, one of the vineyards. Now, as we're going back, you're going to see the new industrial equipment and the size of how they're producing. We're going to pass by an old-fashioned wine barrel. That old-fashioned wine barrel, that's how they made it. So, and then you could see there was, after that, the factory in the back. So this is a list. They put a list of food out, and you could see a euro is today about $1. 1 euro is about $1 American. It's usually 10 cents, fluctuates one way or another, but very reasonably priced $4 and $5 sandwiches, porchetta. Porchetta sandwich is only $3.50 actually. And we can go right ahead to, here's my cousin Rita Nobilio, and around their neck they have a lanyard. She's going up for one of her wine tastings. And this is my family's grouping. We found a table by the side of the field, and you have the Camila is taking the picture. She's the one closest, and my cousin's husband Roberto and Rita on the right, and on the left my cousin's daughter, and then you have Carla and her husband Mauro, and me getting our first glass and toasting in the vineyard. They did a really great job. They had little packets that you put around your neck so you could put your wine glass in. And this is one of the guys that was pouring. He poured me a beautiful Prosecco. And the local TV stations, they come out and tape just like ours do here in the United States, because it's celebrating the harvest in May and October. And she's a trooper. My cousin's daughter, she had a little foot injury over there, but she didn't let anything stop her, and that's her and her dad and her mom in the background. Carola is her name. And here is my friend that was pouring me from Contessa the Prosecco, their closest thing to champagne in that region. Delicious wine. Now here's the fields, and that's a piece of old farm equipment that they used to plow those fields with. Imagine that. Imagine how many family members you did have to have in your family. A lot of Italians in the old days used to have 8, 9, and 10 children, and you could probably see why when you see the scope of their fields. And here's another piece of old farm equipment that this Contessa vineyard was really nice about, honoring the old traditions by keeping the ancestral equipment around and then producing it for modern technology. And there's that old wine. My grandfather used to make wine in that barrel. We used to always churn that thing. And then in the back you can see the plant where they have today's modern equipment. And then dancing. There's always music and dancing wherever they could go. So Camila and her uncle Roberto are having a good time prancing around. And Rita, the mother, she's out there high-fiving and dancing to the music. It was a great day. Now, we were leaving towards sunset, and the scope of the vineyard and the sun setting in the mountains, and those really aren't mountains. They're hilltops where many villages like the one I live in sit. The mountains to them are the Gran Sasso mountain range, where there's internationally world-class skiing that goes on just miles from the seaside because you go high up the mountain. So those mountains in the back are actually hills of Abruzzo. So I want to tell you that Cantina Aperta, you can go to the May Italian American Herald digital issue. You go to the ItalianAmericanHerald.com, go to the May digital issue, and you can see information and an article in there about the Abruzzo vineyards. And then if you check the October 2023 article, you'll see a special story written on the vineyards that we just saw. And then in your Italian American Herald, if you want United States vineyards to visit, if you go into the Italian American Herald and go into their February 23 archive issue, you can pull up a listing of all the all the wineries in New Jersey that we listed free for your pleasure so that you could pick one to go visit. Many of them are run by Italian families here in the United States, and that's always a fun thing to do. So that's more the commercial end. And Cantina Aperta has scheduled wineries that participate in May and in October. It's available on their website, and they have your choices of vineyards. You can tour vineyards by train. You can tour vineyards of castles by moonlight, and their castles are like their cantinas in their vineyards. So there's many beautiful things in Abruzzo. So next time you're looking for a wine tour in Italy, instead of going on the tourist trail of Tuscany, while the tourism trade in Abruzzo is starting to ramp up, go there as one of the first things you do, because you won't go wrong. Now, when you go to Italy, because I'm always saying, of course, everyone goes to Rome and Florence and Tuscany and Venice and Lake Como. Of course, we have to, George Clooney made that famous, so we all have to go back up to there, up north. Most of those are going to be your cities that you fly into and fly out of. So most of the time, many of you are going to fly in and out of Rome. And when you do, you certainly have to go visit all the relevant tourist attractions. And that's why once you get to Italy in one of your anchor tourist destination cities, you do that and then try to go off the beaten track to the southern region of Italy. But while you're in Rome, here's a big secret of the Trevi Fountain. I love the Trevi Fountain. Of course, you all have to go there because you got to toss your coins in the fountain so that you could return again. But a few years ago, they opened an underground tour of the Trevi Fountain, which this is called the City of Water. I picked up a children's version in English of the underground resources of the Trevi Fountain. And it is absolutely beautiful. I have some pictures and we'll maybe do a special episode on it. But I try to mention it all the time because most people don't know about this. And it hasn't been widely publicized. So it's very not very far from the Trevi Fountain because it's where the water supply is. So you asked that you want to go to the underground tour of the Trevi Fountain when you're in Italy. Now we're going to go to another special feature that I want to show you today, and that is a family farm. Now, I was lucky that I stay with my grandmother's aunt, and her lady friend helps her out occasionally, Fiorella. And Fiorella was always bringing in eggs and fruit and grapes and pears and lettuce and you name it, just strawberries, whatever. She was always bringing these things in, and she's like, my brother's farm, my family farm. So one day I said to her, Fiorella, could we go to your family's farm and visit? So she lives in the village of Loreto Abruzzo, where I stay as well in that historic center. But she grew up on the farm, on the outskirts of the farmlands of Loreto Abruzzo. And that's what we're going to see today. And they were my hosts for a great afternoon. So this is Gabriele, Mirko, and they are in the entrance to the grape vineyard in the back of them. They're under some fruit trees right now. And we're going to go through a series of pictures. So over here, they're picking up the pears that have fallen on the ground. And then even if they fall on the ground, they'll peel them. But over here, you could see Fiorella and Gabriella, her nephew, Pantaloni, walking towards the grape vineyard for the grapes. And they have two beautiful dogs that are always around. And you can see them underneath the grapevines. And they were going in and picking the dark, blackish grapes, which are the Montepulciano wine and the famous grapes. But I love those grapes. They have seeds in them, but they're delicious. And this is Mirko, Fiorella's son. And he's always fun to be with. And this is her nephew and probably the future owner of this farm, Gabriella Pantaloni. And he's just a wonder. And then you find Snow White no matter where you go. So, you know, Disney's famous all around the world. And I came upon one of their little house gardens, and Snow White was captivating in it. And then we have here those white oxen, you know, very popular. And this is one of the Pantaloni's daughters. She just recently got engaged, and she's with the cow in their stalls. Beautiful, majestic animals, absolutely majestic. Now, here's, you know, these pigs remind me of Andrew Wyeth, if many of you know, the American painter that was famous for his portrait of a pig. So these animals fascinated me. They're in a cement arc surrounding. And then I zoomed into the inside of the ceramic brick concrete house that they were. And I caught them in there. And I love that picture. And then you could see how humongous they are. And if you look past the pig in the front of the picture, you can see where I zoomed in, and the other pigs are inside over there. So their meat, let me tell you, after I saw and took all these pictures, by the time I went and returned to Italy again, these have been replaced and have been food for the table. And there's nothing like that porchetta. Now here are their turkeys. Of course, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but they grow big turkeys. And they were just beautiful, beautiful. Now, over here, you're going to start seeing, you know, we talk about free-range chickens. everything in Italy is organic. Their chickens are free range. There's no streets for them to get run over. They don't use pesticides. They use human nature's elements to cultivate their olives and their grapes. They don't use insecticides. So here, Mirko's picking up a chicken. They pick up chickens like we pick up cats. And there's Fiorella on the right. She takes such good care of me. And Antonietta, when I'm in Loreto Abruzzo, I love her. She's like one of my Nobilio sisters in the town. And you got your roosters. They're always showing off. But this farm is 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Never stops. And here's the prairie dogs that follow you around. Beautiful animals. They survived. They did not end up being food. And here's Mirko coming out of the chicken coop on the Pantaloni's farms. I can't wait to bring my niece's 4 boys, who are my great nephews, a couple more years when they're old enough to bring them here to the farm. And then here's his grapes and pears and the eggs harvest that they were giving us to take home. And this is showing how old the generations are, because you'll see the women who are 89 and 90 in future pictures, and a couple more pictures ahead. But this was their generation of family. And imagine when their generation of family was here, they only had water piped in to these hillside farms in the late mid 30s, 1930s, I think. So the generations like this and before them that had the farm in the family, they were carrying their water. I'll go to the next one in the fountain. Now everybody loves wine, right? So Marianna Pantaloni is married to Roberto Pantaloni, Fiorella's brother. This was the farm he grew up in, and when she married farm life. Although she she works in a school, she still has a regular job. I don't know how she fits it in, but we're going to see her cantina of wine, because she was pouring us wine. These are the new cylinders that the local farm owners use, which is like so small compared to the wineries silver that you saw. Now, Gabriella, he could tell you every kind of wine, and maybe he is saying it, but he's saying it in Italian. He could tell you every kind of wine in there, and is an expert at only 6 years old. But this is out away from their house. You could see their old wine barrels. And in the back, a few seconds ago, there was their old press to make the wines. This is how they store the wines. And then they were actually doing their own Prosecco. And she was explaining how they're going to take that sand out of the cork. And we were going to go back in the house and drink that, which was very good. Very good. So I think we're going to see part of, maybe there's the old, but probably they're still using that to make their wine. I'll have to ask them the next time I'm there. And here he is again explaining things. Now, when they have an outside sink out of that house, this building, which is separate from their home, and then they wash the bottles in that sink, all the cement things. If you see the ridges in the front of that photo, that's actually like a washing board built right into the cement, where you take your stand out with the water, and it was before washing machines, but I'm sure they're still using it today as well. And then I loved this concrete ornament in their yard, which is why I took the picture so far away. But if you zoom in, you have Gabriella in the middle, my cousin Simona on the left, Mirko in the back in the red shirt, Mariana on the right in the black, and Fiorella in between us. That's under an olive tree. And then we have one of the other daughters, and recently engaged to be married. That's going to be a fun thing to look forward to and celebrate. And now this is their outside summer kitchen. And when it's hot and humid like it is over here, of course they have to still eat, and you don't want to bring all that heat in the kitchen. So this is their spring, summer, and fall kitchen. Has an oven in there, wood stove oven. And all day, Gabriella wanted me to see his big tractor. I'm hoping we get a chance to put his video in. Is that next? Here we go. Now he's going to explain to us in Italian that he's put all the olives that they collected, because it was right after the olive harvest. He put them on this tractor, on this trailer, in those bins, and they all went to the factory co-op to be pressed into olive oil. I was really lucky getting that sent to me. Here you go. I love him. There was a bee or an animal or a bug that came out when he was telling me all about this. But he's only 6 years old, and he already understands the process. And everybody has the love and respect. You could see those olive trees in the back. That's in addition to the vineyards that we saw at the beginning of the Pantalone farm. And so this is a private farm. He's farming his products for the local people, not as commercial as one that belongs to Cantina Aperta. So with that, I think that's the end. Oh, no, then we went in to eat. Right. And we went in to eat, and these are all homemade. Every one of these things on the table we could go through quickly. This is the inside kitchen. And one was more delicious than the other. This was a tart, a fruit tart with fruit from their farm. And of course, biscottis. You can't do anything without almonds and biscottis. Another pie made with things from the farm. And same with the cake. They even process their own flour here, which is amazing. And here's the Pantalone family. My hostess that I stay with, Antonietta, is on the right. Her girlfriend, who is Fiorella's mother and Mariana's mother-in-law, is next to her. And then you have Gabriella in his Delco tourist glasses that we brought him. And his mother, Mariana. A hardworking family. And there's the patrone, Roberto Pantalone, in the light blue shirt in the middle. His mom is to his left, his sister Fiorella is to his right. His two beautiful daughters are in mint green and the white shirt. His beautiful wife, Mariana, is in the back, and peeking through all the way to tall in the back is Mirko, Fiorella's son. So really, nephews, cousins, children, brothers, sisters, they all come out to work that farm. I love this picture because these two women remember walking miles and miles with the baskets on their heads and containers that they would bring back fruit. They would bring water. They would go to the wells in the local towns to collect the water or to wash the clothes. there was no transportation. Your transportation in Abruzzo, even today, are your feet. And I can't thank them enough for being so welcoming to me. I'm lucky that they're there every time I go over. And so that is shows you a vineyard in the Abruzzo region, which is welcoming and open to tourism. And then it shows you a family farm in the hillsides, both of which are in the hillsides of Loreto Apertino in the Abruzzo region. So I thank you for sharing my adventures in Abruzzo today, and what you can find there. I want to thank Kevin and Mainline TV, Radnor Studio 21, for allowing me to bring you Adventures in Abruzzo with Ciao Bella, Living Italian Style. I want to thank the ItalianAmericanHerald.com. Don't forget to go into their website. If you have an upcoming event in the United States and you would like to promote, especially Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware regions, if you go on that website, you can list your event free of charge, how to buy tickets, how to get there, and we want to be your resource for all things Italian. So until we meet again, ciao Bella, and listen to the music of Abruzzo with my cousin Roaldo Acevati's band of brothers reunited after COVID.